15. Contessa of Milbury made a beeline for the dwarf. When he saw us coming, he jogged to meet us halfway. Although we spent most of our 10 minutes together in combat with a giant scorpion in the Plague Barrens, I recognized Wim Hammerbeard long before I reached the tent city outside Brumhill. The beard was shorter, but no one could forget that giant head. His wide smile revealed a set of huge, chiclet teeth.
Having learned the man with whom I'd battled a giant scorpion was this legendary figure, the East, regaled with such grand stories, I've been itching to meet you again. Had I known who you were when we met on that fateful day when my brother died in the Plague Barrens, I might have stayed to get to know you better.
He grasped my hand and slid his palm up to my wrist to squeeze. The Scottish accent was thick as ever.
Aye, good to see you again, Gemini Fowler.
I returned the smile. And you, Wim Hammerbeard. I also wondered whether our paths would cross again, and I'm pleased. I raised my gaze to scan what must have been 1,000 dwarves, and couldn't help but wonder why. If there was a portal to my town just inside the tavern, why wouldn't they just hole up in their stronghold and wait for our signal if we came under attack? But response times were everything, especially after a bare-chested horde of nutcases had come over the hill from Tralsby, and that image probably resonated in their minds. I couldn't help but appreciate that they'd taken on the discomfort of camping out there in the winter to protect the town. Last I'd seen Wim, he'd been adorned in silvery plate and carried a kite shield. Made sense, since he was a paladin.
Wim Hammerbeard, Dwarf, Level 46 Paladin. Title, Paladin of the First Order of the Matron.
Once I'd scanned his camp, he broke the silence.
How fare ye, Shenhua?
I'm afraid Rubal has seen better times, and history proves that I go as it goes. He chuckled.
Aye, indeed. Although my brethren tend to stay close to the Iron Mountains, wars over the centuries have always found a way to reach our stronghold. Luckily, we were up to the task, and the mountains prove a formidable ally. I don't know if anyone's told you, but we've driven those Brusarian bastards back down to the low valleys, and there's been no sign of them since. We've repaired and replenished a few garrisons all the way around, so we can keep a wary eye.
Good idea. How fares your king, Drain and Stonepick?
Best as could be expected. When we were pushed back from Warrington,
He lowered his chin in embarrassment and shook his head slowly side to side.
his first inclination was to have us return home, to stay neutral, as my kind often do, but I told him it made little sense to help the elves lay siege to that bastard council in Trilsby that swindled us at every chance when we traded with them, then tuck our tails and run just because they drove us back. Convinced him we had some responsibility after allowing them to take Warrington.
I appreciate that you did, Wim Hammerbeard. I would not have the Academy return to its dark roots. He nodded his understanding.
Aye, indeed. After you took care of that bastard Verasegar and lifted the shroud off of that town, a few of the magicians who fled Warrington came south to Brumhill, but ultimately found a home with my people inside the mountain. Fine folks indeed. Even Drassen Welling stayed with us for a bit, and the king has taken quite a liking to the man, especially for a human.
He rolled up onto the balls of his feet, then planted his heels again.
But listen to this old man prattling on. How might the dwarves serve you, Shenhua?
I only recently returned, like about an hour ago. I plan to meet with the Elven Queens soon, but now that I see how many forces you've dedicated to the support of my town, I was wondering what the chances were that I would gain an audience to thank your king. I would be happy to send a mage to open a portal so he can meet with us. I don't know that there's any rush, but I spent the last 5 years in an ethereal prison and the time passed in only moments. Hard to explain.
The tidings of darkness often are, Shenhua. You owe no explanations anyway. I will happily reach out to my king, but I doubt you will have an answer this evening. Desini Share has added me to your clan chat. Perhaps I can send you an update later.
That would be epic. He cocked a bushy eyebrow as if he didn't understand, but the other came up and I saw that my meaning had dawned.
Aye, that would be fine. I'll reach out to you the first chance I have. In the meantime, would you like to join us for a meal before you go?
Not to sound ungrateful, but it's imperative I meet with the Queen as soon as possible. She's expecting me. May I have a rain check? Before he could even wonder, I cleared up the meaning of the expression. Can we do it another time?
Aye, anytime. You just let old Wim Hammerbeard know.
As we strolled away from the encampment, Tess was quiet. Although I hadn't known her for long, that struck me as unusual. I stole an appraising look at her. and I noticed how the intermingled white streaks in her hair formed solid color all the way to the roots. Do you color your hair like that? She pinched a few locks and pulled them in front of her eyes.
Happened when I touched the source? No idea why, but I presume it has something to do with, well, with whatever Fireborn means.
I'd heard of crazier theories. Who knew what would happen in a game world? Well, it suits you either way. Her shoulder twitched in what might have been a suppressed shrug.
I can't say I hate it. I just don't like to stand out.
There were times I knew how that felt. She threw me an appraising look of her own.
Nice armor, not metal, huh?
No, it's kind of a lacquered leather. It's supposed to be equally durable. But as you see, I tapped a finger to the stitched cut in one shoulder. It can be split open. I'd planned on going to visit my blacksmith, but I think we should wait until after we meet with Queen Semantia. Tess shook her head like she had other ideas, and was quite certain about them.
If you're going to New Nin, you might want to get a look at the threat outside the Elven Forest. It would suit you to wear your best. And I know for a fact your blacksmith has been working on gear for you. More than once, Dacini told me his confidence you would return was unwavering. If she mentioned it at all, it must be true. Sounds like a loyal man, but I haven't had a chance to meet him.
Probert Mulk and I met in the weirdest of circumstances. He'd been sent to hold down the fort outside my foundation in its early days until the governor's forces could arrive. Her forehead wrinkled.
The governor of Knall? How is it Mulk could be your enemy one moment, then your friend the next?
Your assertion about the event is more accurate than you would believe. He'd been forced toward me with a knife as I sat on a stone chair in my great room by one of the governor's deathlock henchmen. Because of our discussions during the mini-siege, and because of the way I understood his not having a choice when it came to torturing me, his disposition shifted to friendly. That allowed me to bind our souls together. When I did, he was unable to harm me. I chuckled as we passed through the Warrington Gate and gave a dwarven guard a nod. Unfortunately, as evidenced by the way Dacini clocked me good when I returned today, the goddess decided to change how all that worked. Probably for the better. I could use a good knock in the noggin when I screw up.
And did you screw up? Is that why Dacini punched you? It's hard to imagine her just hitting you like that.
Destiny loves me. Of that I have no doubt, because I love her in the same way. I disappeared for 5 years, and she didn't know the circumstances surrounding that disappearance. She and Priya were very close. She had to mourn that loss without me. So how could I blame her for a small emotional outburst? This time, Contessa of Milbury laughed outright.
If you consider a punch in the mouth a small emotional outburst, you're a forgiving soul.
I shrugged. I often think I draw more forgiveness from my friends than I'm entitled to. But maybe it all comes out in the wash, balances itself.
I see.
When we strolled past the mayor's house, into the intersection on the southern side of Brumhill, she waved one hand toward the road leading west.
So, shall we go and see Probert Mulk?
The Smith's potential advancement was the lone example of how a fast forward of 5 years might be a good thing, something to look forward to. Definitely. I'd forgotten who told me the difference between a smith and a smithy. Mulk was the smith. The building was the smithy. To my surprise, when the structure came into view, it was a replica of the one we built for him in Skyville. Upgrades and all. Dual steam vents, black smoke rising from both. Since I wanted them with me, it was a nice surprise to find Amelia and Sumi standing inside. Mulk hammered away at a glowing piece of metal clamped in one hand by some tongs. When he looked up, his features stretched. He dropped the tool, then balanced the metal on the edge of the forge. He cast off his gloves as he approached me.
Gemini, nice to finally lay eyes on you. Amelia told me all about your adventure.
To my surprise, he actually hugged me, then patted my back. I returned the gesture. Nice to see you too. Keeping busy? He appraised me, then ran his fingers over the stitching in my armor I'd shown Tess moments earlier.
I have. I think you'll find those you left behind, for lack of a better phrase, well equipped. At first, I had the hardest time finding suitable recipes for your class. Luckily, you have an ally like Queen Semantia. She provided me with several workable blueprints that should suit a shogun.
Still standing in the corner in the shadows cast by the forge's backsplash, I didn't know what they actually called it. Amelia crossed one ankle over the other.
And of course, he made some while you were gone.
Mulk threw open one of his metal cabinets. A new bald spot on the back of his head was apparent as he began to pull out items, which he then tossed on the work table to his left. Yeah, good old Mulk. The blacksmith arranged everything with a bunch of metal clanking, making sure to shift his body so I couldn't see what he was doing. He was a little dramatic like that when it came to his reveals.
It's not a full set or anything, but we'll bridge some gaps. When you were gone, I wasn't sure if you were somewhere leveling up or what, so I just went with the highest gear I could make for your level when you left.
He stepped away from the table, then swept his arm out to show the pieces he'd propped up against the back wall in a display Macy's would have appreciated. The first thing that popped into my mind was the absence of weapons. That was fine, because mine would more than suffice. I suddenly recalled the smith in Brusaria, who I'd commissioned to make 2 katana from a set of blueprints. Would they still be there after 5 years? No one else could wield them, but I couldn't be sure he'd have kept them around. After all, a couple swords could take up space, and I doubted he thought I was coming back. Brusaria had been through all kinds of changes, and some stranger who showed up asking for specialized swords might be the last thing he worried over. My attention gravitated toward a hulking chest piece. It came off the table more easily than I expected. Wow, this is really light. I knocked it with my knuckles a few times. Is that metal? He dipped his chin.
Yep, it's Titan steel, forged from metal mined from the caverns in Stonespire before.
He hesitated, and I recalled the system message announcing the town had been wiped from the face of Rubal, ending our trade agreement while I was gone. I get it. I'll think of those people when I'm wearing it to avenge them.
I have little doubt. Take a look at the leg plates.
The sides of the long pieces that would cover my quads and hamstrings were attached via a sturdy, thick canvas with a narrow buckle. I slapped one on and attached it with minimal effort. Then I gave it the knuckle treatment. No way you're slipping the blade between these. Good job, Probert.
Thanks, Gemini.
He paused, appraising me again.
Although I always thought you'd return, I have to admit I'm taken aback that you're actually here. When Skyville fell, I barely got out with my ass intact. You should have seen me, huddled up with the laborers who'd made it into the cave before the invading force could snatch them up. I wielded a 2-handed sword I'd been crafting for Brugh. The clumsy sight of me fumbling that thing might have drawn laughter had the situation not been serious.
The mention of laborers perked me up. Did Moggy make it out?
Absolutely. He's a master carpenter now, still works under Latrissa over in your wood shop.
I conjured an image of the woman with long black braids who Mulk spoke of. I'm glad to hear she didn't return to New Nin. I wondered how many of the elves would stick around.
You've missed much, MG. Half of them have leveled up their weapon skills and serve as defenders to shore up a shortfall of the summoned ones. I'm afraid you lost all the casters you summoned in the barracks, and without a summoned master-at-arms, we couldn't replenish their ranks nor bring them back.
If I can resurrect or replace them, I'll do it. For now, Brumhill seems well guarded. In the meantime, if these are ready, I'm going to suit up and we're going to go see the Queen. He nodded his understanding.
Of course. Feel free to stop by any time.
Someday I plan to take him up on that. My smithing skill could use some work, but I didn't think it would be any time soon.